Well, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's Manulife Business Success Series webinar on e-commerce in time for the holidays. My name is Ian McLean, and I'm the President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. Before we do get started, I'd like to take just a moment to acknowledge that we do live and work on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples, as we seek a renewed relationship based on a foundation of mutual understanding and respect. Today's session would not be possible without the continued support of our sponsors. And so a special thank you to our title sponsor for the Business Success Series, Manulife, and our platinum sponsor for the series, the Immigration Partnership of Waterloo Region. These organizations are committed to supporting our local economy and providing businesses and individuals with the resources and tools they need to thrive. I would now like to welcome Jackie Beziak, Director of Group Benefits and Small Business Sales for Ontario with Manulife, to say a few words. Jackie.
Thank you, Ian, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Manulife, we're proud to sponsor the Business Success Series today. In this ongoing pandemic world, which shows no signs of letting up anytime soon, it's more important than ever to have an online presence. The upcoming holiday season is an amazing opportunity to be found online by new or existing customers. Today, you'll learn how your small business can maximize its online presence using Shopkw. This presentation will give you an overview of how your business can easily utilize this user-friendly digital sales platform and experience the benefits of an increased online presence. I'm really looking forward to this session today as we get ready for the upcoming holiday season. Thank you for joining us and enjoy today's session.
Well, thanks, Jackie, and we are thrilled to have Manulife on board with us for this series as we work to support local businesses during this difficult time of COVID. Just before the session starts, I'd like to go over just a few quick reminders. Please ensure that your microphone is muted throughout the presentation so we can reduce any background noise. If you have any questions that come up throughout the session, you can type them into the question box in your control panel at any time, and I'll try and get through those. If you have a tech-related question, a representative of our team will get back to you in just a few moments. If their questions are for today's presenter, they'll be gathered throughout the session, and our speaker will do her best to answer them as much as possible throughout the presentation. But all attendees will be sent a recording of today's presentation, and it will also be made available on the Greater KW Chamber website. I'd now like to introduce today's guest speaker, Andrew Perkins. Andrew Perkins is Manager of Corporate Training and Business Development at shopcity.com. He is a SEMP certified, SEMPO certified, which is Search Engine Marketing Professional Organization, specialist in helping small businesses improve their success online. Andrew has been involved in education and training in online products and e-commerce since 1998, making him ancient in this world, but an expert that we're looking forward to hearing from today. When he began producing some of Canada's first conferences on online retail, web-based customer service, and related emerging business-to-consumer technologies. So thanks so much for joining us today, Andrew. We appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks, Ian. Good afternoon.
Let's dive right in. I mean, this is obviously in a COVID world. Many businesses that were thinking they needed to think about online and becoming more present outside of bricks and mortar. COVID changed all that, and I think it's just accelerated things. So maybe talk a little bit as we get started about 2020 and how that's changed the relationship between small business and the internet, because it's certainly been something that we've seen a lot more uptake just in this last 8 or 10 months.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head, Ian. It's not so much a change as it is an acceleration of change that was already happening. Consumers were already moving to the web for both retail and services in a phenomenon not just of making transactions online, but a phenomenon that gets called ROPO, R-O-P-O, research online, purchase offline, and again, both for products and services. But even that said, from all of the time, and you mentioned I've been watching online retail since 1998. From then until 2019, online retail had worked its way up to 11% of all retail sales. That jumped hugely in second quarter 2020 with the arrival of the pandemic and having the requirement that businesses be shut down. And in that second quarter, all of retail dropped 26% year over year from that same period, 2019. And yet, online retail jumped 110%. So while retail generally was falling, online was increasing more than double. And when I do my own math on that, that makes it out to more like 30% of all transactions after spending 20 years getting to 11%. So if we extrapolate from that and we look at what that means to consumer behavior across the web for all of their purchases, whether it's products or services, it's reasonable to assume that that's going to hang on, that with the increased comfort of using the web for transactions and the increased requirement that we do more research online before we go into a store, because browsing is diminishing now. We're making precision strikes. That means small businesses have to catch up, because if they don't, that business, that increased traffic of consumers is going to go to the big bucks, to the national brand, and to the web giants like Amazon. And if Joe's hardware store doesn't hurry up, it's all going to homedepot.com. If Fred's toy store doesn't hurry up, it's all going to Amazon or to Toys R Us. And right down to if Jane's salon doesn't catch up, the business is going to somebody else's salon who does.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that has become obvious is that the notion that we were heading towards, and you highlighted up to 11% being online, and it was slowly increasing. It's exponential. I maybe comment a little bit. From our perspective, we've changed the way we had to do business because we can't get together and do our events so we're doing virtual events. But I don't anticipate we'd ever go back to the way it was before. And I think that holds true for retail, and in particular, how people have a presence online. It may go back to a new normal, but online and being present and having a marketplace beyond your own geographic boundaries is just going to be part of the new normal moving forward. Is that not fair?
I think it's reasonable to be confident of that. Yes. I think we will try to return to what we came to know and loved. I don't think that I hate the word new normal nowadays, but whether the new normal is completely different or only a slight variation. Yes, consumers are going to try to return to where their comforts were as soon as we're allowed and as soon as it's safe. And I'm hopeful that it will be safe. But a new comfort has arrived. Consumers are more comfortable doing their shopping and their research online. So even if we don't hang on at 30% when things return to whatever normal looks like, I think it's reasonable to expect that it's going to be significantly more than where we left off a year ago.
So fair to say, because I think the reason we're doing this today is obviously we at the Chamber support Shopkw and see that as an opportunity, particularly for that independent and small and medium-sized business that doesn't have that national brand. It's important. But the important for now is that people should be, during the pandemic, now is the time to invest, because it's not going away after the pandemic. There's going to be a portion of your business that you'll only get if you are online and have that online presence. So investing now and making that commitment now is just it's going to be table stakes for a business that wants to be successful moving forward.
It's true. Businesses have had an awful year in 2020. Whether it's retailers who've just had reduced traffic and reduced sales in total transactions, or services that have continued to be essential to their consumers and delivered, but had to spend more money trying to find a way to deliver them safely. Everybody's had a tough year in 2020. And our chance to recover some of that, as it always is every year, whether it's been a tough year or not, is the holiday shopping season, is the November, December period. And if we can, if a business, we small businesses can move quickly, we still have an opportunity to take it, to be in front of consumers who have shifted and be where they are in November, December 2020. And then certainly it's going to last thereafter.
So one of the things that, and we're you know, in our chamber, we have downtown cores or uptown cores in Kitchener and Waterloo and Elmira. And so those are the main street retail. And so it's important to try and encourage people to go out, but we still will encourage those businesses to say some folks and some demographics are going to be more cautious about coming out. And I'm really thinking about older generations. And while I know I look very young, Andrew, but I'm sort of an age where, you know, I wasn't real comfortable doing online shopping or ordering food online and doing curbside pickup, that sort of thing. That's becoming part of my routine because many businesses aren't open. But are the older demographics going to actually get online and shop online? I mean, I think that's one of the pieces that they're the folks that have a lot of disposable income. Are they actually going to get online and search out using Shopkw or other platforms to shop online?
It's funny. There's a mythology out there that is just like that, and you yourself may be less comfortable than maybe somebody next to you, but it's not true that the internet and even cell phones are the domain of the young. As far back as 2017, KPMG did a study of who was making online transactions and found that it was 18% roughly of millennials reported that they were making transactions online. And I'm just going to check my notes to make sure I'm saying the right people. No, Gen Xers, excuse me. 18% of Gen Xers were making purchases online. And millennials, a group younger than they were a couple of percentage points behind, where 15% of those had reported making transactions online. And baby boomers, you and I, and some people are senior. I come right in at the end of the baby boom. Really, I'm very young. Baby boomers had reported at 15.1%. So with millennials reporting 15.6% that they had made transactions online in 2017, baby boomers were right behind them at 15.1%, almost neck and neck. And when you look at Gen Xers at 18% reporting that they've made online transactions, it was really not a broad difference category to category. And as you point out, we're all aging and we are all getting more online. So I would expect that in the 3 years since, and I've seen some evidence to it, but not a Canadian search like that one, that it's continued in the same pattern. We're all making purchases online.
And I think one of the factors, and we had a cybersecurity seminar or symposium a month or two ago. I think one of the concerns with folks is how do they find so from a business perspective, how do people find me if I'm going online, and from a consumer perspective, that security issue around if I'm paying online. Are those two things that have really come into I mean, those things are not the concern they might have been 2 or 5 years ago now. I mean, the security and those types of things are from your perspective, those things are manageable now.
Online transactions are still more secure than in-person transactions and have been for a while. I was a waiter when I was young, and people would hand me a credit card or table, which I would walk away with, hand to a minimum wage person in a booth at the other end of the restaurant, leave it with her for 15 minutes, and come back and collect it with a receipt and hand it back to the table. I was making $3 an hour, and the hostess who ran the card was making $3.50.
Yeah.
And people were handing us our credit cards and expecting it to be safe, and we were trustworthy. But consider how normal it was to hand over your credit card and let it go out of sight multiple times a week, before we went to the online environment, where yes, it's a broader environment, but much more effort is put into making it safe to pass your credit card number around.
Yeah.
Data about us is more of interest to the bad guys, the black hats out there, than our actual credit card numbers. When they have our data, they're not after our credit card, they're after our home, they're after our identity. And even that is an extremely rare success that anybody can get through and capture it. You hear those stories because they're remarkable, but their online transactions are very safe. And your online personal data is very safe too, provided you're taking the appropriate precautions, not using the same 1, 2, 3, 4 password for everything you do.
So we've kind of covered off that, you know, there's a huge spike in online and people making that choice because of COVID. We talked about, you've laid out the demographics, that it's not just young, it's right across the board, that people are of all demographics are starting to shop online and see the convenience of that. And that it's going to continue to grow because we still have a long way to go to get to the other side of the pandemic. So this is a world we need to live in as businesses and as organizations. What should a small business do right now heading into, well, Christmas season #1? Like, now's the time. This is going to be a time that's important for many businesses, but also heading into 2021.
Well, all businesses need to expand immediately the channels through which they reach the public, whether they are all small businesses, whether they are in retail or services. The days of thinking that your Facebook page or your Instagram feed is all the web you need have been passed. And we've learned that, first of all, your Facebook page reaches only your already faithful followers. Same thing with any of your other social media. And increasingly, those social media, in order to get you to spend money to reach out, those social media are narrowing the breadth of your faithful followers that you reach with any given post. And on Facebook, for example, you're now reaching between 1% and 6% of your followers with each post, plus whoever they might share it with, or if they interact or engage. But it's a very small portion, and it's already the people who love you. So we need to find ways to branch beyond, to be available to consumers who don't already know us, and importantly, to get the attention of search engines. The more content you have on the more outlets, the more channels online, the more Google, and I'm going to say Google like you say Kleenex, I mean all of the search engines, the more Google knows about you. And the more you can compete for Google's attention, the more you're going to be able to capture those people who don't know who you are. And that's going to be especially important now because the consumers are doing their research online. They're going to ask Google. They're not going to go to Yellow Pages. They're not going to go to Facebook, and they're not going to go to other social media and say, I've decided I need to get a Star Wars Lego set for my grandson. Where will I get it? They're going to go to Google. They're going to open their browser, and the first page they have there is Google or Bing or Yahoo, but 88% of all of them are on Google. And they're going to ask Google that question. And it's probably going to be a phrase like Star Wars Lego set Kitchener. Kraft cheeses Elmira. They're going to be looking for something where they live. And small businesses need to find a way to be the answer to those questions. They're not asking by category anymore. It's not a phone book. They don't want to say, tell me all the toy stores. And then they'll call every toy store and say, do you carry the Star Wars Lego set? we've learned. We now just type Star Wars Lego set.
So what's the importance? I mean, I think it's clear making sure you have an online presence, but that's a big category in and of itself. Online presence doesn't begin to answer the question. So how does Shopkw fit into that? Because you got to, and I think what I hear you saying is you've got to be, when someone's looking for the Star Wars Lego set, you better have something in the internet that says you have that. So how do you get the specifics of whether you're retail or a restaurant? How does Shopkw help fill that need, so that as a small business, you're never going to compete with Home Hardware or Hudson's Bay or Walmart on advertising, but how do you compete so that they know that if they want to support a local company or a downtown company or an uptown company, that you have what they're looking for?
Shopkw's, the principle behind Shopkw is the idea that you can use lots of those channels that I just spoke about all in one place. So let's start with that search for Star Wars Lego sets. If I've decided I'm going to buy a Star Wars Lego set and I search Google for Star Wars Lego sets in Waterloo, I'm going to get a Toys R Us answer and a Walmart answer and a Sears answer. Sears still around? A bunch of main big box and chain businesses that sell it. Frank's Toy Store probably carries it, but Frank's website is a 5-page website, possibly created by his brother-in-law 6 years ago, possibly that he doesn't have the keys to anymore. It may or may not mention the brands that he carries on one of those 5 pages. Competing for the attention of search engines against those behemoths is really difficult. But if Frank puts his Star Wars Lego set in a catalog on shopkw.ca, now his Star Wars Lego set is on a page on a website that has a much higher volume of traffic than his own website, a much higher clicks per user rate than his own website, a much higher average time on site per user than his own website, more photos, more videos, more news, more links in, more links out, all the things that Google evaluates to say, is this page interesting for my user who asked me this question? Frank can now leverage by being part of a community that makes all of us bigger. And so now that Star Wars Lego set can compete right alongside the one at Walmart and the one at Toys R Us and the one at Mastermind in a page 1 search result on Google or Yahoo or Bing. And that gives him a level playing field. We don't have to convince consumers you should shop local, though do, please, convince consumers they should shop local. But whether we've succeeded or not, the consumer is by and large agnostic. They just want to buy the thing they want to buy. If we can make Frank just as available to them as Mastermind and Toys R Us are, then now Frank gets to tell his value story. He gets to be valuable to the consumer and he gets to compete for that purchase. At the same time, when the consumer lands there on Frank's Star Wars Lego set on shopkw.ca, he now has a whole suite of tools that he can use to interact with the consumer. So now we're talking about those other elements I was mentioning. He can create a blog on shopkw.ca. He can post news about himself and his business and syndicate that news to his Facebook and Twitter. So even though Google does not read his posts on Facebook or Twitter, if he puts them on Shopkw and allows them to syndicate, Google now has a place where it can read that information and increase its knowledge about Frank's business. And he can create coupons and sell gift certificates on shopkw.ca. So now he's also got tools comparable to Groupon or comparable to a gift certificate site. There is a place for reviews. So now he's got a tool that helps him compete the way Yelp would have helped him compete. There is a business directory on the site. So now he's able to rank by category in the same way that he might have on Yellow Pages or on another directory. So all of the various tools that a small business might go to 6, 7, 8 platforms in order to use are housed in one easy to use intuitive platform on Shopkw, because we recognize that your small business owner does not have time to become a web marketing expert. He needs one place, or she needs one place where he plugs it in and it works everywhere, and she doesn't have to understand why, or he doesn't have to understand why.
Okay, well, let's drill down that a little bit. And I have a little small business, and when you're a little small business and it's one or two people, you're doing everything. You're doing the finance, you're doing the business development, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the CRA and taxes and all those sorts of things. So the most valuable commodity that most of our members would have, and I would think, frankly, most businesses, period, is time. So, and recognizing that the only way to compete is what you just talked about, is taking the platform that, again, a Shopkw can provide, which amplifies your listings and your offerings, and can make you more findable, because that's what it sounds like, more findable for that independent store to be found in a noisy environment. For Shopkw, and we do have Shop Elmira, Shop St. Jacobs, if you're La Creme in St. Jacobs, or you're the restaurant in Elmira, or the bookstore in Uptown Waterloo, like Wordsworth. How much time does it take to be able to invest? Because part of this is it becomes an exercise in the platforms there. It connects to your own website. You can enhance your website or build a new website, but it can take your existing website. How much time does it take to do the reviews and coupons or offerings, blogs? How much time would someone expect once you're up and running to really do this right, to leverage your social media and to use this integrated platform? How much time, a day or a week, would a small business owner look to invest? Because that's an important determining factor for many businesses.
It is, and there's always going to be a chunk of time at the outset, at the very least, to get all of it set up, especially if you're going into online retail. If you're going to sell online, you really do need to take enough time to load a picture of all of your products and a description of each of your products and price them. And if you're in a more robust e-commerce version, and we have a simple one and a robust one available to small business owners, and you want to be managing inventory so that when somebody buys it, the inventory count goes down and there isn't one left for someone to buy that isn't available anymore. All of that takes some time to set up. Now, with Shopkw, you can do it yourself, or you can, if you want to pay extra, you can have somebody help you with it and build that out. But even when you have somebody help you with it and build that out, there will be some pieces of it that only you know, right? You're still going to have to provide the pictures, or if you have suppliers online, tell us where your suppliers are and we can go get the pictures for you. But only you know how many you've got in store. So you're going to have to control your inventory if you're using a more robust version of the platform. But once you do get up and running, and as I say, you can get help with that from us, you can be pretty impactful with 15 or 20 minutes a week, because once it's there, you're just adding a little bit. Now, if you've got a very dramatically changing inventory, if you're bringing in a lot of different new product every week, that everything is one of a kind, and when it goes, you bring in something else to replace it, then it's going to be a little more than 15 or 20 minutes a week, because it takes 2 or 3 minutes per product once you know how to do it, to put it in the catalog. But for the vast majority of retailers, where they just keep restocking and the changes are more subtle and less frequent, or the dramatic changes are very infrequent, really 15, 20 minutes a week is plenty. And I asked a business one time when they said, I don't know if I could dedicate 15 or 20 minutes a week. This was a butcher. And I said, how much time would you say you spend to cleaning your counters? Add it up through the day. 30 seconds, 15 times in the morning. We're now at 7 minutes. Another 15 times in the afternoon. Now we're at 15 minutes. And now probably a good 10 minutes at the end of the day. You're spending 25 minutes per day, not per week, per day, just wiping down your stainless steel counter. It's not a revenue generating activity. Why are you putting that kind of time into it? Well, it's important to my business. Cleanliness is essential. Is getting new customers important to your business too? Can you find 15 or 20 minutes a week where you can dedicate to that kind of activity? And the answer is always yes for the things that you prioritize.
Well, and virtually everybody, any business, I mean, we're no different. The Chamber has social media accounts and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And you have to pay some attention to that if you have those accounts to either post, but also see what replies are coming. I can't imagine that there's many businesses that have social media accounts just in and of themselves who aren't spending 15 minutes monitoring their online accounts, even if it's not at this point necessarily generating revenue. And so I think you're making the argument with blogs or social media and posting your pictures online, which are, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. That's a really important piece of when people are looking for something, is actually having them be able to see something. But making that investment in those things is very important, and you got to make time for it, because ultimately the Shopkw platform is about trying to drive business so that you can do more business, and it's just being done in a different way. It's no different than if you were doing an advertisement on the radio or in the newspaper or other things that you might have done in the past. You take time to get that right, and you're making the argument that you need to put some time, although not a whole bunch of time, like a manageable amount of time to get the payoff using Shopkw.
It's true. And as you pointed out, small business owners wear all the hats. I think that the best time management experts I have ever met have been small business owners. They may not be proclaiming to be experts, but the people who have the most challenge managing time and having to figure out what slot everything goes into in order to get through a day and not let their business fall apart are small business owners, because they wear so many hats in their business. They've already had to learn it. It's become intuitive to them. They may not even know it. They may not even know they're good time management experts. But everybody who's had a business for a year, 2 years, and is still surviving has mastered time management.
Yeah.
And once they have, one of the things they've learned is I assign time to things. Every Thursday between 8 and 8:30, before I do anything else, no matter what fires are burning, I do this task. Every Friday between noon and 12:30, I do this task. And whatever tries to interfere with me during that time will still be there at 12:31. I'll take care of it then. And they've learned how to do that.
Yeah. So just looking at some of the questions coming in from our viewers today. I'd like to. There's one here around Instagram, and I think we've all seen this. Certainly I have in the pandemic. I may not have noticed before, but I sure do now. Even on Instagram, you see a lot of business posts of selling things online. And does the Shopkw platform allow you to create posts for Instagram? Like, can you use that platform? That seems to be one of the ones where it's becoming more business oriented, and we've seen lots of businesses selling online. Is that something that can connect with your Shopkw platform?
Instagram likes to be the source of posts. I think because of all of its fun filters and everything, that it likes to be the source. So for regular posting, we can't post into Instagram the way we can post into Facebook and Twitter. However, when you get into the retail piece of it, that's a different story. And if you are going into online retail and you want to be able to sell on Facebook and on Instagram, and for that matter, to connect your store to Amazon or eBay or Google Shop or Google Shopping, we do have a product that our clients can use called Powershop. And this is a very robust platform. I don't like to make comparisons, but because it's a household word and people get it, it's point for point competitive against Shopify. And Powershop does integrate with Instagram and with Facebook and with Facebook Messenger, and can be attached to Google Shopping and eBay and the other shopping websites, so that you only have to manage one store, but you can connect it so that it's shoppable from any of those media.
Okay. now, as your people are maybe developing, so they've got a website, but it's not really an online marketplace right now, and you're moving towards this, using Shopkw and developing a true online marketplace where people can pick and pull and use whatever to buy your products. Is there any magic of, do you take the time right at the outset and take a picture and post through Shopkw on everything that you have and do it all at once? Or is there some wisdom in doing a few at a time so you have more of a drip of getting people into the into your platform?
As with all things, a balance is important. So I believe, and I think experience has demonstrated, that you need a critical mass of content in order to start getting attention from search engines and consumers. So there should be some initial outlay of work where you've put in your products and you've created a good business description, and maybe you've added a coupon to your Shopkw or your website, because Shopkw does build websites for its clientele that are easy to use and managed from the Shopkw business control panel. But then leave some behind that you can dribble in every week and keep adding content, because the more you keep adding content, the more search engines recognize this is a place I should come back to. It's always changing. I need to visit frequently to refresh myself, the search engine, refresh myself on what's going on in this business so that I'm able to serve that up to my users.
Yeah. Okay, so just coming in, another question coming in from Stephen. Does the Shopkw platform integrate with accounting software for real-time inventory and availability? So I think you touched on that, but maybe I mean, that's obviously on Stephen's mind, but maybe on others. Maybe talk about that, the integration between Shopkw and accounting softwares.
Yeah, Shopkw e-commerce platform is a nice, simple shop local e-commerce platform, and you treat your sales online, if you're making them as because not everybody activates the shopping cart. If you're making online sales with Shopkw's platform, you treat that as an in-store sale. So you'll still add it manually to your inventory management or your accounting software. If you're going more robust and you're using Powershop, Powershop can integrate with QuickBooks Online, and also provides its own more basic accounting software as well. But if you're using QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online, if you're using QuickBooks, you need to migrate to QuickBooks Online for that to happen. And then yes, you can use a third-party integrating app that we provide to report your online sales to your QuickBooks Online.
Maybe talk about the orders, and without getting into too much, because I think we want people to connect with Dana and our staff and connect with you folks if people are interested. But give the order of magnitude of the investment, like in dollars, like from the simplest version of Shopkw, which is it supplements your own website, to what you're talking about with Powershop, where you're having more of a managed or a partially managed system that you're getting help with. What's the sort of the sliding scale of in terms of cost, but also the supports that are available through the platform in terms of having someone help you manage on a day-to-day? Because I think those are two different things. If it was me and I'm doing this, I'm doing it with more. I want more help. I'm going to pay more because that's really not my area of expertise. If you have more ability in this space and can take more of that time and not get frustrated like some of us would in terms of setting it up, that's a business choice, and it really comes down back to time, right? How much time do I want to spend on this? How much do I want to pay someone else to help? And you've got options with Shopkw.
You have, and it starts at free. Any small business can add itself to shopkw.ca or find itself already listed there and take ownership of that listing in order to add content about itself. And then in the subscription programs, they start as low as $50 a month and go up to In the do-it-yourself programs where you're going to take the time to do it yourself, the levels are $50 a month, $100 a month, and $200 a month, and those differences are defined by capacity. How much store, how many pages of other content do I want? How many subscribers do I need in my database if I'm going to use the email newsletter tool? They go up in increments that way. And if you get a self-serve, a do-it-yourself package, a representative from the chamber will actually come and help you learn how to use it and get you rolling. Then the managed programs have the most capacity and come with 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours of content work support from Shopkw team. And those are $300, $400, and $500 a month, not on top of, but instead of the 50, 100, or 200. So if you want the occasional store or business that has a lot of content work to be done, might need the 3 hours a month package at $500 a month. That's the very top end. The introductory end in subscription is $50 a month. Now, if you want a much more robust e-commerce platform, Powershop sells separately from that. And its 3 tiers are $29 a month, $49 a month, and at the very top level, $139 a month. And those go by capacity and some features in differences that a Shopkw rep can walk you through.
I think what's important in this is to say how much is it worth to do, because ultimately this is part of your business development. This is a sales function. Are you getting customers? Are you selling your product? And it's starting at free, but with your basic packages of $600-800 a year up to several thousand. But you've got to make that calculation of how it's going to drive sales to your bottom or to your top line, which is really important. So there's lots of options, and
they're all still, if I may, and they're all still a lot less than those same businesses used to spend on a phone book ad.
Yeah, I mean that's the order of magnitude of saying this is where you need to be, and it's cheaper than what you might have had it have, but you need to take take advantage of this as an opportunity. I think that's important for folks to understand is. And last piece I'd say in this, and then we've got a few more minutes, a couple more questions. If you start in one level and say, geez, I really need that Powershop, I mean, there's going to be advice either from the chamber staff or from Shopkw staff like yourself of saying, where should you be? What are the things you're trying to do? And so if you started a basic package and want to go up, there'll be people that can help you walk through saying what specifically do you need, whether it's my staff at the chamber or yourselves at Shopkw, to make sure a company is where it needs to be, investing what it needs to invest to get the results that they're looking for. So that's fair?
Yes, the chamber team are trained to ask you what your objectives are and to be able to match you up with the right program to answer your needs.
Okay. I think you've touched on this. It's two things. You talked a little bit about how to posting of product updates, right? To keep current and to sort of keep that enthusiasm and refreshing as you talked about, the search engine or the search engine itself. But so you've set up your online shop. You've got Shopkw as an example. The products are loaded. You got the pictures done. The product descriptions are detailed. So what's next? Like what happens then? I mean, is it just happen all on its own? What are the pieces that happen when you've got the online marketplace ready to go? Like what are the next?
How do I spend that 15 minutes a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. A key piece of it is posting news, because that's that constant refresh of content. So to go in once a week and schedule 2 or 3 posts for the course of the week that well, if you're a restaurant, to post your daily specials, or if you're a retailer, to post inspirations and reasons to choose them, or to demonstrate your expertise on your vertical section of the retail market. So if you're a dive shop, to be giving advice on safe diving. If you're a tire shop, to be giving advice on car care. Give people a reason both to think of you, trust you, and want to come back to you when the time comes that they have a purchase to make. Adding events to your calendar. If you have promotions, Midnight Madness sales, days where you're changing your hours, guest speakers or special days when somebody's signing books in your bookstore, that kind of thing, to put them in the community calendar on shopkw.ca. And those will come up automatically on the day in the news feed as well.
So things like
inventory.
in that context, we're coming into Christmas. Many retailers may open up an extra day, like be open 7 days or extended hours. Those would be the types of posts. And I remember that Wordsworth Bookstore is now open on Mondays from such and such. I mean, it's those types of information posts that can help make sure that you're giving content that would be useful to someone when they're ready to go out and buy a book. Yeah. Is that the type of? I mean, we're not talking. You don't have to do your thesis from university online. We're talking about what is information that would be important to the person I'm trying to sell to, and some of that can be pretty basic information, but it's useful.
Yeah. So the hours, yes, that has to be in the mix. But if you're a retailer right now, you should absolutely be posting gift ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. This came out. This is a great gift suggestion. We're putting together these special baskets that you can pick up curbside if you order online. So gift ideas and product suggestions and new product that's come into the store, these are all in the mix as well. Not just the hours, not just the update information, but inspirations too. And then beyond that, gosh, the people who are on shopkw.ca on purpose, those are consumers who have discovered what it is, and they're coming back because they do care about local. They're not channel agnostic. They want to buy from local businesses. So local businesses that post about their participation in the community are demonstrating to those consumers that they have a simpatico relationship. So if you sponsor a softball team, congratulate them when they win. If you're giving an item to the hospital auction, encourage people to go bid.
Mm-hmm.
Show your community involvement as well in these news posts, because that makes the consumers who are reading them understand they have a relationship with you in their community.
And ultimately, it doesn't take a lot of time. You can even post, as you say, schedule those so they can be done for the week. If you take in your 15, 20 minutes, you can have this all done so it's going to come out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or whatever is the appropriate mix, so that's constantly happening. This is not something that is, I wouldn't say idiot proof, but I actually understand this, which makes it pretty simple because I don't understand much of technology. Okay, last question. And then I'm going to invite Becky Beziak from Manulife to come back on. We talked about this, but I want you to kind of maybe draw this all together. There's lots of tools in ShopKW. There's lots of reasons why you need to be online. I think we've demonstrated the why, and that there are the tools which are user friendly, but there's supports at different levels where you can get more support or do it yourself, and anywhere in between. But it does sound like a lot of tools, and for many small business owners that still say, oh, geez, I still don't have the expertise. What would be your elevator pitch on why, if they're going to get going and they need to be in this space, why this is a good platform, and get them over the finish line to say, yeah, I'm going to make that investment and I'm going to take part?
Because you don't need the expertise. You really don't. If you can fill out a form on a computer, you've got all the expertise you need. It's all set up to be intuitive and simple to understand. It's built for people whose expertise is their small business, not for people who are web marketers. Have we got time for a really short story about the origins?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Shopkw.ca is part of the shopcity.com network, which was born out of shopmidland.com, a small town on Georgian Bay. And shopmidland.com was born because Colin, our founder, who was a website guy with a small business himself, saw Home Depot and Walmart moved into Midland in the same summer about 20 years ago. And he built shopmidland.com to help his parents' business, a paint store in town, fight back and defend themselves against the giants. And so he hired some developers, put them in a room, and put up a picture of Colin's parents on the wall. And everything that went into shopmidland.com, which became shopcity.com, had to pass the Collins parents test. Their level of expertise, their budget, the amount of time that they could give, their level of understanding, all had to be met, and it still worked in order to be part of our team, in order to be part of the solution. So it's made for Colin's parents, and small business owners are all just like Colin's parents with varying expertise, but in the end, none of it what they need to do it on their own. What they need is something that knows all that for them and just says, fill out this form.
Yeah, that's great. That may be the best way to describe this, because it is user friendly and intuitive, and but ultimately answers the question: how are you going to compete in a very noisy environment in the online age, which is upon us and is never going away? It answers that question. Listen, thank you, Andrew. I've always appreciated these talks because you can tell how passionate you are about Shopkw or Shop City and how it can work for small business. We really appreciate you taking time today.
Thank you, and don't forget yourself to shop local this season.
Exactly. All right. If I think Jackie's still with us, and I'm going to maybe just ask Jackie to give us some closing remarks. Or if you have one more question, Jackie, I think I was supposed to do that before, but I got so fired up I didn't do it. If you have a question, if not, you can give a few closing comments.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, Andrew. That was really great. I certainly learned a lot. I actually went in and looked at the website, and it's very cool. Just one quick question for you before we close, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Talked a lot about the benefits to small business owner. I'm a shopper, as are all the small business owners on the phone. So aside from the fact that we should all shop local, what are some of the other benefits to me as a shopper to Shopkw versus going and doing browsing on my own or going to one of those big box online stores?
Well, the benefits are the same as shopping online and shopping local separately. When you shop local, you're working with somebody who is usually much better experienced and educated on their product than the weekend kid who works at the chain store. And you are not buying it from somewhere that you're going to have to ship it to return it if you got the wrong size. It's all when you're choosing local, you're choosing local for, there are so many reasons to choose local that are just about the relationship with your merchant. But beyond that, to the broader consumer environment, is that by choosing local, we're helping keep money where we live, that money recirculates and gets respent here and recirculates and gets respent here again. And therefore, the value of every dollar you spend grows in your community and makes your own community and its diversity thrive. Whereas every dollar, they say the math is something like 45%, depending on which study you look at, 45% of every dollar you spend on a local business stays in your community. 10% of every dollar you spend on a big box store stays in your community, and none of what you spend on Amazon stays in your community.
Excellent. Thank you for that additional information. That was very helpful, and I'll be sure to share this with my friends. So thank you very much for the presentation today, and Ian for asking the questions. That was great. Thanks very much. And thanks everybody on the phone for attending.
And thank you, Jackie and Andrew. We appreciate you bringing your expertise here. As we close, once again, do want to thank Jackie and her colleagues at Manulife as title sponsor of this series. We couldn't do it without the generous support of our business community and local. Manulife is local here, so we encourage. They are a big employer and a big part of the chamber, but also our community. To our platinum sponsor of the series, the Immigration Partnership of Waterloo Region. Today's speaker, once again, Andrew Perkins from Shop City. Thanks so much. And finally, to all of you for joining us today. As a reminder, we host a new Business Success Series session every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Next week, join us as we hear from Jillian Wells, mental health specialist with Manulife, as she provides us with some tips and strategies on how to support the well-being of your staff during this challenging time. For details and to register, visit the chamber or greaterkwchamber.com. Please share this series and the information about when we hold this on Wednesdays at 1 with your friends and colleagues. Join us every Wednesday afternoon for another edition of the Greater KW Chamber's Business Success Series, brought to you by Manulife and the Immigration Partnership, because if it's Wednesday, it's Business Success Series. Thanks so much and have a great afternoon.